Citizen Vigilante is an anti-Christian film, and a miserable one, that portrays those who oppose illegal immigration as psychopaths or sympathizers of senseless killing. It is a sort of a psyop aimed at influencing viewers' emotional and mental state. Of course, it's not so menacing as some of the most famous psyops, but definitely belongs to one of the most evil ones. One of the most notorious psyops is famous propaganda offensive aimed at drawing the United States into World War I. American newspapers portrayed German soldiers as savages who bayoneted children, which was a complete lie. Before that, the Americans refused to enter the war. Then there is Operation Gladio, part of a wider operation to establish so-called stay-behind operations, secret US and NATO groups behind the scenes that after World War II ensured that political parties that were too nationalistic or left-wing didn't win the elections. In 1990, then Italian Prime Minister Andreotti himself admitted the existence of this organization. Operation Mockingbird between 1950 and 70, the American intelligence agency bribed well-known journalists who spread media info in favor of the US government. Famous 9/11, the attack on WTC Twin Towers, was allegedly carried out by an Arab terrorist group, and the result was the removal of 6 Middle Eastern regimes. According to some indications, the attack was actually carried out by a country that benefited the most from it. Several films have been used to create a positive or negative opinion about political events. Exodus, with famous actor Paul Newman, was made to create a positive opinion among Americans about the founding of the State of Israel. There is also Green Beret by John Wayne, who literally asked the military complex to allow him to make a propaganda film. Of course, we can't skip Top Gun, as it's a clear example of American propaganda where the entire military establishment made the film possible. These are just some of the psyop movies, but there are many more. Therefore, to understand Citizen Vigilante, it's important to be aware that films are also used for propaganda purposes or to spread a message that affects our psychological perception when watching. Although it declares itself independent, it's enough to say that it's distributed by a company founded by the chosen ones. So, judging by the names, they are representatives of those who have always been the majority owners of Hollywood studios. For the purpose of familiarizing yourself with this topic, I recommend certain documentary which presents the story of the owners of Hollywood studios. So much for the background. Let's say a few words about the movie itself. The film is directed by German Uwe Boll, whose filmography reads as if he were wandering from one pointless project to another with a desire to eventually hit something blindly. His knowledge, so-called, of film art is fascinating. From the use of endless fillers when the film, due to a bad script, resorts to endless repeatings of similar shots. An example is a marathon-long drive of the Special Forces to the Avengers' home, their endless running up the stairs, his repetitive monologues, walks, etc. Absolutely superfluous shots that testify to the fact that Ball has no idea how to get the desired running time, and therefore stretches the film. His hero is not actually a fighter against illegal migration. That is just one of his worldviews. He is a nihilist who believes that everything is without purpose, meaning, and moral value. He also dislikes the poor, those who can't afford rent, the elderly employed. He approaches those who are hurt not with sympathy or empathy, but with surgical coldness. To prove his point, he will even cause a fatal traffic accident. He is more concerned with the dampness on the walls and the ventilation of the brothel premises than with the fact that it is extremely immoral act being involved in organized prostitution. And now we come to the synthesis of the mentioned. It is a psyop designed to denigrate those who believe that illegal migration should not occur. They are sick people who enjoy killing migrants, whether they are guilty or not. Namely, although Ball boasts that it's an independent film, it's clear that he has tried with his previous projects to please those who enable careers in the film industry. The Hollywood machinery is still owned by them, including the rapist Weinstein. Ball made a bad movie about living conditions in one of the WW2 camps, and the even worse Blood Rain, the Third Reich, where even vampires fight against the Germans. If we add the fact that previously mentioned production guys were co-producers of the film The Accountant of that WW2 camp, we come to the common ground behind this project. Hollywood films have a long history of portraying all nationally conscious individuals as psychopaths and murderers. It's almost a rule that the murderer will have a swastika tattoo, shaved head, live in a trailer, beat his wife, and get drunk. This is part of a wider psyop, or to be more precise, Hollywood is entirely a soft power psyop. Not soft because it's milder, no, on the contrary, because it's very subliminal in its power. It affects our awareness in a covert way. Remember your childhood and all the war films you watched. The good guys are only Americans and English. The Germans are depicted as complete savages, sadists, in short, subhuman, even worse in Dunkirk. They are like some phantoms, like some unorganic, evil entity comprised of multitude of people. The truth is certainly multifaceted and not so banalized, but growing up with such movies marks a person's perception. So, in general, especially the boomer generation, even if we prove to them that history is not as it seems, they would still shake their heads in disbelief. Most people prefer to live a lie because it's more comforting. It doesn't require any brain effort. Remember the red pill, blue pill dilemma from The Matrix. The Israeli propaganda machine works on 24/7 daily basis. Netanyahu met with the so-called influencers on social media networks. Their security agencies are in touch with some of the studio owners. It has been like this since the very beginning. We mentioned the film Exodus. And in this light, it's much clearer what's in the background of this so-called movie. They are selling this fog, again, that Islam is the enemy of Europeans and that those illegal migrants, Arabs and blacks, will overwhelm Europe. Yes, in accordance with the Kalergi plan, they will overwhelm the old continent. But these migrants are not coming here unorganized. They are just the end result and as such are guilty of their recklessness, audacity, and violation of the laws. But they are not guilty of organizing these migration processes. The masters of the finance capital are to blame for this, a millennial, ruthless clique that, with the help of the domestic political fifth column, is destroying European civilization and the Christian and Catholic faith. These migrants are just the tools they are using to achieve this goal. They first instigated these migrants and now they want chaos and nihilism, individualism, and moral decay to spread. And that is the goal of this miserable quasi movie. Let Christians and Muslims kill each other or let them mate sexually and create new Europeans. The third party is pushing this agenda and is snickering evilly on the sidelines, waving its hands.